Why it's unethical to eat meat. Despite what many omnivores believe, eating meat isn't simply a matter of taste or personal preference. It's a question of ethics. The current methods by which 99% of animals are farmed for human consumption are shockingly cruel. Livestock are kept cramped in extremely close quarters, often unable to move entirely, wallowing in their own waste. Because they are viewed as commodities and not living beings, they are treated at best with indifference and at worst with violence. When the time comes to harvest their flesh for meat, their deaths are executed so inefficiently that the animals often continue to struggle well into processing. Study after scientific study continues to reveal the large capacity that non-human animals have for reason and emotion. Animals are not unaware or undamaged by the horrendous conditions of their existence. They slump miserably, they slump helplessly in their misery, cry out in pain, shriek in terror when another's life is taken, and clamber for self-preservation in the knowledge that they may be next. The remaining 1%, the so-called humane farming industry, is not exempt from cruelty. Though the animals may live in more respectable conditions, they still suffer the same heart-rending fear when their lives are taken. Just as with factory farms, their deaths are not as physically and psychologically painless, nor as swift as their proponents would like people to believe. As unspeakable as these atrocities are, the worst part is that they are wholly unnecessary. It is not nutritionally essential for humans to consume meat in order to survive or to thrive. Studies consistently show that those who refrain from the consumption of animal products tend to be in far better health than their counterparts. Eating meat is correlated with an increased risk for virtually all chronic diseases. Plant-based diets are associated with a reduction and even elimination of these risks. And if compassion and health weren't significant enough, there is also the environment to consider. On a large scale, it is highly inefficient and ultimately unsustainable to expend water and energy on producing plants to feed animals. Those animals then require even more water resources, expel tons of toxic waste into the ecosystem, and have to be harvested in order to provide nutrient-poor food for humans. It is notably more sustainable to simply grow nourishing plant foods and feed them to people directly. Not to mention the massive amount of land required for farming, both the animals and their sustenance. The depletion of the rainforest has been a concern for decades, and they are constantly being cleared away to make way for livestock and feed. Ethics are a set of moral principles that determine what is right and wrong. When considering that eating meat contributes to the unnecessary suffering of sentient beings, the decline in the quality of human health, and the degradation of the environment, it can only be concluded that to do so is unethical. That a person enjoys bacon or wants to eat a steak is irrelevant. The prevailing truth is that it is wrong.
Any questions?
Do you think everyone should be a vegan?
No, in my opinion, veganism is taking it too far. It's a bit too extreme, and the fact that they don't wear leather or any sort of animal products is kind of wasteful to the animal. If you're going to eat meat, you should not waste anything and treat the animal with the respect it deserves.
But if you're vegan, you don't eat meat, so then you wouldn't be wasting the animal.
Yes. That's an interesting point, but I do believe that veganism, as I said before, is still way too extreme. Animals, in order to live, need to be farmed, but they need to be farmed correctly. So eating eggs isn't harming if the animals are kept in correct conditions and farmed properly, eating eggs isn't to the detriment of their health. It's simply making use of their natural process, I guess.
Okay. Thank you, Sasha.